Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. I'm very excited about this because hopefully, with any luck, this will be running by the end of this video. I have no idea. You're seeing this in the order that I filmed it in, so I've got a lot of work to do. Whether it's going to translate on camera or not, but we'll see. It might just be a lot of me talking and scratching my head. We'll find out though. I haven't wired up an RB30 before. I haven't wired up anything into a VN before. But today's the day. You might know more than me, depending on what the thumbnail of this video was and what the title was. I don't know. At this stage, I'm not sure. So a quick rundown. If you haven't been here for the whole journey, but I bought this car in February, I think it was. So we're nearing 6 months. So I think it was about towards the end of February. We're nearing 6 months that I've had it. So it is a 1989 BT1 VN Commodore, obviously. It was in pretty rough nick when I bought it. I paid $600 for it. And yeah, it was pretty much destined for scrap or parts or whatever, you know. So my plan originally was, when I was looking for a VN, was to basically just have a pretty standard kind of VN. Things escalated, so obviously I bought this. It was in rough condition. It had been started to be tubbed, which is why I then tubbed it. And then it needed an engine because it couldn't just stay with the standard 3.8 litre. So that's where we are today. So the RB30, obviously this is actually from a 1988 VL, obviously. Yeah, so we've got a bit of work ahead of us. We've done a lot of work. So manual, obviously. I've done a lot of work on this car. I would hate to count up the hours. I'll definitely do a budget when I get to the end of it, and we'll work out what I've actually spent. But it's coming along. I'm very, very happy with it. And let's just say, if this actually starts and runs today in this video, then I'll be stoked. I'm going to jump ahead a bit here, but I have been through and I've gone through so much of the wiring. I've literally spent 2 full days prior to today, like prior to filming this, just going through the loom on the engine. So the engine loom and pretty much the old engine loom. I used a few plugs of it. So I have been through and labelled a whole heap of the wiring. Obviously you can see here that some of it's connected. I've just plugged in a few bits. So this is just a patch loom that I made. These connectors will not stay. I will probably repin a whole heap of this stuff if it works out. Some of it might get soldered. I'll see how it pans out. But once I'm happy with how it all sits, so yeah, you can see there is a lot of labeling, a lot of drawings. So I have had a couple people help me out with some of these drawings. One being one of my viewers, Blake, and one of my mates, Justin. So there is a lot of drawings online for this. This one here might have come from online. I think that might be a R31. Because it's got RB20 stuff on it. I think that's from R31 stuff. But yeah, there is a few drawings that are really handy. And once I've got it running, I'll show you guys a little bit about how to, which bits you need and which bits you don't need, sort of thing. So I'm not going to do that just yet though, because yeah, it isn't running and I haven't done this before. So come with me and learn the mighty RB30. So one big problem with this car was there was an immobilizer in it, which was causing havoc, absolute havoc. So there's some bloody shocking wiring in this thing. But I spent a whole, 3 hours chopping a heap out, fixing up some crap that's in there. That fuse block is pretty shagged. I got it pretty good, I think. I'm happy with it for now. I'm not happy with it, but it's good enough for now, and I'll fix it. Like I said, once I actually get this car running, then I'll concentrate on some of the smaller things. But I have put oil in it. There is proof, just so I remember. I haven't put gearbox oil in it, so I'm just about to chuck gearbox oil in it. What I have done is I've gone over everything and I've just plugged in the standard loom. So this is the standard VN Commodore RB30 loom that I've plugged into it, right? So all the way from like standard O2 sensor, like standard obviously crank angle sensor, just standard injectors, everything's standard on it. All I've had to do to it so far is extend one wire to get to the TPS, because obviously originally that throttle body is sitting up there. And I've got the standard airflow meter just plugged in. Obviously it's not connected to anything. Yeah, obviously I'm not running the standard airflow meter. I am running the Z32 airflow meter currently, whether that stays or not. Another reason behind me running that airflow meter too was I was kind of hoping the R31 standard airflow meter plug is actually the exact same plug for the Z32 airflow meter. So it plugs straight in. The wire's even long enough and everything to reach there. The only thing that I'm not sure on is the like pin out and everything. And obviously the settings in the ECU, I haven't checked any of that, but I will get to that eventually. So probably not today. I won't worry about any of the airflow meter stuff today. I literally just want to get it running. Hopefully idling. I think I'll be optimistic to get any further than that. Yep, it is what it is, you know. So what I have done is, as I said, hooked everything up to like as standard as possible. So the starter, everything's connected. I have got obviously the battery in the boot. Up in there, it is connected. The fuel pump wiring, so relays and everything up here, but yeah, don't worry about the mess. We'll sort the mess out afterwards. I just need to be able to trace stuff and work out where things are, and obviously the car's a mess. The wiring in the car is a mess. I think that's probably the biggest problem of this job is how bad some of the wiring is or was in this car when I've got it and when I've started. I have just got the battery isolator switch dodgily sitting there so that it's not touching anything. It obviously is not going to stay like that. It's just temporary, trust me. So I have gone through a heap of the other things in here, right? So there was so many like cut wires, like pretty much orange in VNs is constant power. Possibly VL looms as well, I think. I don't know. I can't remember. Or it's the other way around. I have to go back into it and have a look. Don't quote me on that. I'll retouch on that towards the end. So I've obviously labeled all this stuff, right? I need to go through now and connect it. So I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit and we're going to connect a few things. Pretty much my plan here is to get it cranking. So get it so it turns over on the starter before I go any further than I need to. It doesn't have an oil pressure gauge in it yet. I don't think I'm going to wire one up today, but what I will do is I'll just pull the top line off the turbo. So when I can get it on the starter, I'll crank it and yeah, we can at least make sure that it's got oil coming out of there, because if it's got oil coming out of that line there, then it has oil pressure. So that'll be one job ticked off. So yeah, let's just dive into seeing if we can get it to crank to start with. Now, before I go anywhere on this starter situation, I'm just going to go through and test a few things. So the thing to keep in mind with Commodores, quite a few of them I think, they're actually negatively switched. So easy enough to get around, most of the things, like it'll go to a relay that'll have power to it, and then it'll send a negative from the ECU to the relay, so it'll earth the relay out and open it, basically. So there's also a few different brands and different styles and layouts, pin layouts and stuff on relays, so just another thing to keep in mind. So I'm going to do some testing on the starter. So this here is the starter relay base, basically. You're going to need a few basic tools if you're doing this. One, test light, and two, multimeter. Both very handy tools. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work out what is constant power on that relay, what is like the switched power, so which one is connected to or will be connected to the starter. And then, yeah, I'll work out which one should be on the other end of the coil and which one should be a negative. And then we'll go from there. If you don't know how a relay works, it's essentially like a switch for higher currents. So you'll have power in and power out, which is like obviously active, constant active. So it'll go to the battery. Load, so whatever you're running, thermofans, fuel pump, etc. off of that side. That's your main circuit, and then this is just a coil that runs inside of it that'll open and close that circuit basically. So depending on how it's wired up, 85, 86, one will be like your switched active and one will be your, or switched active in this case, and one will be your negative earth. Basically just to create that circuit. Hopefully that's a simple enough explanation if you don't know what relays do or what they are. From here, so I have one end of my multimeter cable in the starter pin. So just a little clip that goes on the starter. Obviously I've got everything wired up did I touch on it before? I don't know. From the battery to the switch in the car, like the battery switch, and then from the battery switch to the starter motor. Normally I would go from starter motor to alternator and then alternator to battery, in this case at the front. I don't have a battery at the front in this case, but what I have actually done to minimize having to shift any of the wiring in the car because the battery is in the boot, I've put this little terminal in here. Basically it's just a obviously it's just screwed to the body, but it's insulated. And then it's just a bolt that you can attach cables to. It's a terminal that goes in your engine bay. They're like $10. Yeah, so easy solution for it, I would say. So what I've done in this car is battery isolator to the starter motor, and then I've gone from the starter motor to that little post there, that terminal post, and then I've gone from that terminal post to the alternator. So it's still like a star point sort of thing. It connects back to that position. From there, I've also ran one power wire into this fuse box because that's how it would have been standard. There was a battery wire basically that went from here into the battery where it was before. And then I've ran one wire down, if you can see it down here. I've just put in one of those little like circuit breaker things. So it's basically like a main fuse for the ECU. Okay, so back to where I was. On that end, it is connected onto the terminal. Multimeter lead is connected onto the terminal. It's a little clip that goes on. So starter motor is wired as it should be. I've just pulled that clip off and put the multimeter lead in there. So I'm just going to bell this out on and try and work out which one here is connected to that. So I can, all right. So that one there is the load, what would go to the load sort of thing. So next thing I need to do is I need to work out with my handy dandy test light which one of these is constant. So that one there is constant active, so that one goes to the battery. So now we know that one goes to the battery, that one goes to the starter motor. So that means that these two here will be each end of the coils. So this one here is from the key when it's in the on position, or this one, I don't know, I haven't worked it out yet, but and yeah, one will be an earth essentially. So whichever one of these isn't from the key will be the earth. And then from there, I'll see where we go to next. So I'm just going to quickly test that one there is in fact the key, or if that one there, actually, which one's going to be? Whichever one I go do is going to be wrong, I guarantee you. Let's try that one. So ignition's off, and I'm going to turn it on. Nope. So it's not that one. Let's try that one. Yep. Winner. All right. So that means that this other one should be the earth. So that one there will be the earth. So, I mean, it depends how these are wired up, probably. I'm going to rewire as though it's factory, like especially for that. So I might just run an earth off of that other one. I'm not sure where it goes to start with, whether it's a signal from the ECU originally, so from the 3.8 ECU, but I am going to just earth that one out. I think that will be my best bet. So I'm just going to chuck an earth on that and then we'll cut back here. So I have just chucked an earth down to the standard earth point there. Like that's the standard battery earth for the body normally. So I've chucked an earth from that pin there down to there. Keeping in mind, always check your relays because this is not wired how I thought it would be. And obviously I just want to reuse the standard wiring as much as possible in this. So that's actually like the pin out on that relay is different to like a normal, like a standard relay would be. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully, if my testing abilities prove me to be correct, I should just be able to put the standard relay back in there and it should turn over. Hopefully. So one thing that might let me down today is I haven't bought a new battery for it yet. I've been waiting for them to come back in stock. If you haven't been able to tell from my previous videos, one of the things that I hate buying, I don't know why, I just hate buying batteries. Probably because I put them in a car, I use them once, and then I don't use them again for another year. I don't know. Pretty good at doing that. So, but yeah, so I still have to buy a new battery for it. So currently it's on an old battery in a jump pack. So hopefully we've got enough in it to make this happen. Yes, I have put gearbox oil in it before. Ooh, my BT1 light is working. Spewing that the cover on this dash cracked. Spewing. All right, moment of truth. Will it? Woo-hoo! Yeah, boy. Yes. That is a sweet sound. I know it's not much. It's only turning over, but woo-hoo-hoo. I'm stoked. Yes. Woo. Yep. The sweet sounds of my labour. I cannot wait till this thing fires up. It's going to be rowdy as. Whew. My head's all over the place now. From here, right, so I've got to, like, I've wired up these basic ones. That's fuel gauge, temperature gauge, few other bits and pieces. Like I said, I've been over all of this stuff and, yeah, connected some basic ones. I've documented it, like I said, and I will run over it before the end of this, but right now I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So I'm going to spend the next couple of hours just going through a bit of this wiring once my heart rate comes down from it turning over for the first time. Yeah, go through a bit of this wiring off camera, and I'll just, yeah, there's nothing interesting that I can film when I'm going through it. So when we get to the point of hopefully turning that key again, next stage is probably I'm going to go get some fuel, chuck some fuel in the tank, and then from there, yeah, hopefully we'll see if some fuel pumps work. That's the next step basically. Obviously we need to check oil pressure and everything, but we'll get there eventually. So stand by and I'll jump ahead, post wiring, all of this mess. All right, here we are, another milestone. Putting fuel in this thing for the first time in a long time, 2018 probably, roughly. That was the last time it might have had fuel in it. I don't know, I'm just guessing, going off of rego and everything. But I have not had fuel in it, obviously, so. And I just realised I don't have a fuel cap. That doesn't matter though. Let's see if we've got any fuel leaks. I can't hear it splashing onto the ground, so it's probably a good sign. My plan here is get some fuel in it, and then I can see what the go is with fuel pumps and fuel pump wiring, etc. I don't want to dive into any of that without, like I don't want to power any fuel pumps or anything without any fuel in the tank, so that it's, yeah, it's got something to pump sort of thing. So otherwise I'll kill a fuel pump before I've even started. Can't see any leaks. I don't think I touched on it in the video either. I did end up pulling the fuel tank out and putting the fuel, I found a like E85 fuel safe liner. It was difficult to find. It's sort of one of those ones that you tip in and splash it around and then it sets. A lot of the liners were actually ethanol compatible, but then if you looked into it, it was actually on the E10. And then yeah, E85's a whole different class of tank liner, I guess. So I think it was $100 for like a bottle to do it. So I don't know what it's going to be like, but let's find out. Am I going to regret putting 20 litres in here? Probably. You watch me have to pull the fuel tank out again for something. Alright, want to buy one fuel cap for VN Commodore. No fuel cap. Also, while I'm on the want to buy things, if anyone has a manual surround, VN to VS, whatever the same model is, hit me up. I did modify a like standard automatic one, but I really want to get the manual one in there. So this is one of those things where I was like, I'll just modify that, it'll be fine, but I don't like it. So if you have one you want to sell and post it to me, hit me up, let me know and I'll buy it. And also a fuse box cover. I don't have a fuse box cover. Also, if you have one and you want to sell it and you want to post it to me, hit me up, I'll buy it. So where I'm at now is I've gone through and I've powered up the ECU. Well, I've hooked up the wires that should power up the ECU. I have not yet powered it up, but I've basically hooked up like a constant positive, constant active, and like ignition 12 volt. So it turns on when the key turns on, so that it comes over here. And I have not yet used, so I've used the ignition one. I haven't used the constant power one yet, but when I get to that point, if I need it, it's here and we'll work that out as we go. So hopefully I can turn the key. Like I said, I'll touch base back on this towards the end. If it actually runs, then I can give you some pointers on what wiring goes where. But for now, we're just gonna chug through it and see whether we can turn that key, and like hopefully a fuel pump will start up. I'll quickly run through again what I've done for fuel pump wiring. So this is the standard fuel pump relay at the front of the car. So this is one of those things where the ECU puts out a, like, let's go. So you see there, fuel pump, negative trigger. So the fuel pump's putting out a negative signal, basically, and it'll earth the relay to start the relay, essentially to turn the relay on. So this is kind of why I've set up my relays like this for my fuel pump. So I've got a relay at the front of the car that essentially turns on the two relays at the back for the two fuel pumps. So yeah, this little standard position relay at the front, which will be the standard fuel pump. Yeah, that's just basically that purple wire then will go to the signal, like be the signal that opens or activates the relays in the back of the car. Once again, nice short wiring down to the fuel pumps underneath the car. So yeah, so basically I have wired this, although it should, like it looks dodgy as, yes, I know, it's not going to stay like that. I think now I'm going to turn the key and hopefully, fingers crossed, I've done something right and we might be in business. If we can hopefully turn a fuel pump on, at minimum, get some power on the ECU. Yep, that needs fixing. Yeah, bud. Woohoo! So yes, fuel pumps work, ECU has power. Well, I haven't checked that the ECU has power, but obviously it has power because the fuel pumps work. But the one thing that I did notice is I need to adjust that fuel pressure regulator so it actually bumps those numbers up. Otherwise, we're not going to get any kick in the engine. She's not going to start with like 10 psi of fuel pressure. So I'm just going to do that quickly. I'm also going to take the oil line off of the turbo and we'll just crank it a bit more and actually make sure we've got some oil pressure. Like I said, it hasn't got a gauge on it yet. I've put the sender on it and I've worked out the gauge. I actually had a gauge sitting here, a new one, just a El Cheapo, like SAAS pressure gauge. It'll do, it's good enough. Yeah, I'm just going to mount it probably in one of these vent holes, and that'll be another day's problem, I think, though. Like I said, today, I'm just going to crank it over with that turbo oil line off, and we'll see whether that's got some oil under it. If it does, then we can continue trying to start it, hopefully. So I've switched another wire together. So it's a manual ECU, but automatic loom. I just wasn't sure if anything needed to happen to the neutral switch wire. I don't think so, but just in case. Gonna give her another burn. I think I need some more juice. I feel like it's definitely not making oil pressure yet, which is probably understandable. It's definitely had no oil in it and it's been upside down. Could be a problem, who knows? Do we need to hook anything else up? Don't think so, nothing there. Don't know. Give me a minute, I'll get back to you. I feel like we're close, but that was with Start Your Bastard in there. I feel like we're getting very close here. Although we still have no oil coming out of there yet, which is disappointing. So this is how my day's progressed. So as you've seen just there, I fired it on Start Your Bastard, and it fired. But yeah, I can't get it to go any further than that basically. Stuffed around, checked timing, checked like pretty much everything over again. And I can't see anything that's obvious that's not playing the game. So what I did was I unbolted the injectors and I just slid them out just enough so that I could see them firing. And yeah, fair enough, they're not firing. So how I got to that point was, yeah, obviously if it's running on Start Your Bastard, it's got spark, so it could be timing or it could be fuel. So yeah, that's why I just thought I'd check the injectors. So I pulled them out just to, yeah, see if they're blocked or whatever. So narrowed it down to probably injector issue, maybe. I don't know, 97% sure. And then I thought I'll just check, because I have the old fuel tank here that came with that engine, came out of the same car. And that is the inside of that tank. That's what it looks like. So I thought it could be, like the wiring could be correct. I don't actually have the right test light to test them. Basically you need like an LED test light sort of thing. So all I did was I got this little LED Parker light and I just straightened the, straightened the terminal thingies out on it and stuck that in the injector plugs, and you can see it pulsing. It doesn't work perfect, right? But you can see it pulsing like sort of like every now and then. So I think that's enough to say that the injectors are in fact pulsing as they should, because I believe these RB30 injectors, they'll have like voltage to both pins, and then the ECU will alternate one of the pins to a negative, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So yeah, next step, pull out some injectors, and I just cleaned them out with some Start Your Bastard. I don't know what my plan is from here, to be honest. Try and find some good condition, like injectors out of a running car perhaps, or try to find some way to clean these, but that might prove to be painful. But yeah, so I sprayed some Start Your Bastard in the end, and that was the like rust and crap that come out of it. So being that bad, like when I had the injectors out, not a single drop come out of any of them. So being that bad, if this is the case, yeah, they might just be bin jobs perhaps. So I'm going to try and find some more, and hopefully this isn't the end of the video. So here we go. yeah, bit of stuff in there. Yeah, I'm gonna just try and give them a clean and then just cycle them a bit with like some voltage through them, and hopefully they come good. I don't know, we'll see. Nothing to lose at this point. Okay, I don't even remember where I was up to. This car has been an emotional roller coaster this week. So I've had a day to think about it. I left it for a day. I worked today. It's now late at night. Some legends helped me out with some bits today. So I found some injectors. So shout out to Dan and Ben. I got 2 full injector rails, 2 full sets of injectors, a couple spare bits, an injector, what's the light called? Injector node light. So you can plug it into the injector plugs and see if it flashes to see whether it's getting a pulse through the ECU. Check that, tick, big sigh of relief. So wiring seems to be right. So I've plugged in some injectors and I'm going to see if I can get the injectors square essentially. Yeah, so I've plumbed all the fuel back up, plugged all the wiring back in. Still no plugs in it. I took the plugs out. I've been winding it over. This is another thing that JZs have on RBs. I can't get the bloody thing to make oil pressure. So obviously I didn't pull the pump off, because normally when you pull the pump off, you fill it full of grease or Vaseline or whatever you want to put in them, and it just helps create that seal that you need to initially make oil pressure. But obviously I didn't pull the pump off, but it is not making oil pressure. I've turned it over a fair bit. Yeah, I read up a fair bit of stuff. You can force oil in basically through, I've been pushing it in through the turbo oil feed line back into the block in the hopes that I can turn the motor over backwards and it suck it back in, because that's basically what I read is kind of the go-to thing. There's no way you can just simply push oil into the RB, I don't think. I mean, I may be wrong, but tell me if I'm wrong. But if anyone else has had this issue, let me know. Yeah, so I've filled up an oil filter and put the oil filter on in the hope that, and then I've spun it backwards a bit in the hope that it'll draw a bit of that through. It may not. So I went and got a sauce bottle. I'm going to fill that up with oil and hopefully squirt that in either to the oil pressure sender hole, or I'll pull the oil filter back off and put it in the middle of that, and then I'll turn it over backwards again, see if I can get oil pressure then. Obviously I don't just want to start it and run the thing without oil for 10 seconds, because I mean, that's probably not going to be good, right? Anyway, I feel like I'm going on a rant, probably more than anything, rather than a ramble. So let's hope this thing fires some fuel. I don't know. Yeah, there's so many things been going on. I've been through like 3 batteries on the thing trying to turn it over too much, and I don't know. I think let's let the injectors do some injecting, hopefully. Please, injectors, come on. Have we got power? Where's the keys? Where's the keys? Where's the keys? Let's go, injectors. So you can see they're just sitting out there, and I'm going to turn it over and fingers crossed I get some. Yes. All right. We're on a winner here. Well, that looks like all 6 made a mess, and I'll take that right now. You can see I've got the intake lifted up because I needed to get all the injectors out and stuff. So I'm just quickly going to chuck all that stuff back together. I shouldn't get carried away and start it because it's not making oil pressure yet, but I kind of want to get carried away and start it. So I might just, yeah, it's still got no plugs in it, obviously. So I'm gonna unplug the fuel pump, unplug the injectors again, and then I might just turn it over for another 20 seconds. Like I said, I have spun it backwards, probably about 30 revolutions, like 30, revolutions of the motor sort of thing. And my arm is tired because I'm just doing it on a, with a socket on the crank, obviously. So yeah, I'm gonna attempt to spin it forwards now and Pray for some oil pressure, probably. What else do you do on a new build? Start it up without oil pressure, probably. I don't know. You work, please. 3 hours later. So this is my homemade engine oil pump primer, I guess, I don't know. So you've seen that sauce bottle that I had. What I have done is obviously filled it up with oil and find a torch. So that's like tea that I put in on the standard oil pressure switch when it focuses. So I've just put so I've taken oil pressure switch, like I had the aftermarket one in there. I've taken that off the end and I've put a little 90 on there and some rubber hose up to my sauce bottle. So it's just a like rubber hose upside down and it's like a tight fit on that hose. And yeah, basically I've just spun the engine back, so with the socket on the crank bolt, and I've spun it backwards, and you can see it's sucking that oil in. Basically what I'm trying to do here is get some oil into the oil pump to like prime it basically. So then when I turn the key, all the little gaps in there in the oil pump, they're all full of oil, and that will help create the suction it needs to help actually pull the oil out of the sump. So definitely haven't had to do this with JZs, but I don't know. RB things, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, I definitely Googled this one to see whether I'm just going crazy. And I was like, surely I haven't broken an oil pump already with the thing, you know, it hasn't even ran. So, but yeah, anyway, looks like a very common thing. So if you have to do it, seems like this is a decent way to do it because you can't directly feed the oil pump, like I said earlier. So yeah, obviously the oil pressure gauge is on the pressure side of the oil pump. So basically if you feed oil into like where the oil pressure gauge goes standard, that will directly feed to the oil pump. But yeah, you just have to turn the engine backwards to be able to pull a bit of that oil through. And just while I'm standing here talking, it's actually starting to like siphon itself back in. So yeah, hopefully it works. I'm just gonna like put that whole bottle in, and then yeah, we're ready to crank it now. So I've put all the intake manifold back on, bolted all the bits and pieces on, all the stuff that was here. So let's hope this is it. I'm feeling really good about this, to be honest. It's probably going to shut me down, but I'm definitely feeling good. I'm obviously going to crank it for a little bit before I put the spark plugs back in. I just want to definitely 100% ensure that it has oil pressure. Like I said, I don't want to junk an engine before it's even ran. So just a little bit more for good luck. You can never be too sure. See that? Yeah, all that oil leakage. I definitely know what that is. Yes, yes, yes. So that's good. We're making some oil pressure somewhere. We will be in a second. Okay. Come on, Paparuski. Let's make some oil pressure. Okay, so typical me, thought I was filming, but I wasn't. It did, I think it made oil pressure, like it pushed a bit of oil out then when I was cranking with some air. So whether that was just an air pocket or whether it's, yeah, actually made oil pressure, I'm not sure, but everything is connected now. As soon as I put this fuel pump relay back in, everything is connected. So it should run. It should start. Yep. I'll go on record here and say it is very late at night. So sorry neighbours if it starts. I'll just start it real quick and turn it off. Let's see. Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. some juice. Oh, come on. Please. So it definitely has an intake air leak, and the key switch does not work, but it runs. That was a bit anticlimactic, to be honest. Whew. I had a quick, almost had a brain fade there. I went to turn it off, pulled the key out, still running, took the battery switch out, still running, and then thought, what the heck am I going to do? I pulled the spark plug leads off to stop it. It runs. It just doesn't want to stop. That's easy enough to work out. Let's get to that in a minute. It runs. All right, champions. I've had some sleep, which I have not had much of lately. And I've rethought where we're at here. So with the first start and the panic, the reason why I was concerned about the reason for the panic was I don't think it's making oil pressure still, or it wasn't making oil pressure still. It had definitely put some oil on the floor with that drain, the turbo lines being off and stuff, but not enough. And I think, like I said, it might have just pushed a little bit out somehow. Like it might have been starting to build oil pressure or something, but it wasn't. I've probably cranked this for probably only 2 minutes on the starter, maybe. Still with forcing oil in through the oil pressure sender position on the block. And that should, pushing oil in there, it should be going into the oil galleries, and at least, oil will be going to the crank and stuff. So I'm not too concerned about anything running dry. I put plenty of oil in the cam, journals and everything when I put that together, so I'm not too fussed about that one either. It's still not making oil pressure. It's definitely becoming a pain. Obviously it ran for 20 seconds there and it still didn't make oil pressure. So now we're going to extremes. So the other option that I have to try and get it to make oil pressure was take the oil filter off and make up a fitting that can go directly into the center of the oil filter, as I'm pretty sure the oiling system on this is oil goes from the pickup into the oil pump, from the oil pump into the center of the filter, I think, and then out of the center of the filter to the oil galleries from there, I think. So technically where I was putting oil in is post filter. So my next option would be to try and push oil in through the center of the oil filter back into the oil pump, and then spin the engine over backwards for a little bit to try and get it to draw a bit through again. Or the other option is, I have done this before when I've had oil pressure problems on something else. Overfill the shit out of it. So I think this is one of the fixes for the, when you have a newer Raptor, was it the 5-cylinder ones, and you left them too long without oil in them and they drained back through the pump and unbled themselves. So yeah, I put 10 litres of oil in it and cranked it over by hand a little bit. So if it doesn't make oil pressure now, there's something wrong, and I'm probably going to have to pull an oil pump off. So I'm definitely not looking forward to that. Honestly, I can't understand why it wouldn't be making oil pressure other than just RB things, and it's just got no oil in the system, and yeah, it's just not playing the game. So 10 litres of oil in it. The crank and rods and everything should be under oil now. So shouldn't be any oiling problems. I'm hoping, I've left it sit overnight with 10 litres of oil in it. So I'm hoping that oil seeped into all the journals and everything in the crank and hopefully backfed a bit. And you know what I mean? The oil pump is now under oil, and yeah, hopefully that means that it's all, seeped into everywhere possible. So I'm going to crank it back over again now with 10 litres of oil in it. And I hope to see some oil pressure now. I'd almost hope to see it instantly. If it's not, yeah. If it's not pretty instant, then like I said, I'll be starting to get worried, and I might have to pull an oil pump off, so I'm not stoked on that. So let's see whether we get anywhere with this. Where's the key? Where's the key? Okay, so last ditch attempt at making some oil pressure. So I'm looking for oil in that bottle and oil coming out of the turbo feed there. So baby. Woo. That's oil pressure if I ever seen it. Woo! I'm more excited about it making oil pressure than it starting. So, yep, 10 litres of oil. That did the trick. So we're making oil pressure now. So fucking stoked on that one. Nothing we couldn't have worked through. So, but yeah, 10 litres of oil fixed that problem. Right. So now I'm going to drain that oil. And then I'll put 5 litres of oil in it. And we'll go from there. So we should be good to go now to hook everything up. I need to go through and work out obviously why it ran. I've probably got a constant power where I should have an on power. So yeah, why it ran on, why it wouldn't turn off when I turn the key off. Like I said, I've probably just hooked up a constant power somewhere where I shouldn't have a constant power, but that's easy enough to work out. What I'll probably do is I'll just hook everything back up like it should, everything sort of thing, so it will run. Then I'll start it up and get it idling, turn it off, and then I'll basically just go through and I'll just start unplugging wires. When I find a wire that I unplug and it turns it off, then that's the wire that should be on the on switch for the key rather than having constant power to it. So should be easy enough. These are the small things. Oil pressure, stoked. It's bloody, yeah. We're in for a good time with some oil pressure, so I'm excited about that one. So let's drain some oil out. I've been through and I've done all of the little bits and pieces. I think, like I said, not quite all of the little bits and pieces. I need to do that one more thing as to work out why it's not turning off. Yeah, it'll just be, like I said, it's got a constant power instead of a power on switch or whatever. So I need to suss that out. But for now, I'm ready to start it again. I've put the spark plugs back in and I actually put a oil pressure gauge in because now I know how reliable this motor is going to be with oil pressure. I just want to be sure that it actually has oil pressure. So it is time to kick it in the guts. Hopefully it runs. Fuel pump on and off like it should. Look at that sweet, sweet pressure. Whoa! Timing's out. Whew! It has oil pressure. I'm stoked about that one. Let's see what this is going to do. Clean your damn mess up, Jared. it runs many stoked. So yeah, I've got, that's two wires, two power wires there. I just need to split them, I'm guessing, and run one to constant and one to key perhaps, or something. I don't know. Or does this have a stop signal? I haven't actually looked at that. Maybe this has a stop signal. All right, I'm gonna look into this. I need to put some power steering fluid in it because I just thought I have not put power steering fluid in it yet. So let's chuck some of that in it before I kill that power steering pump. Stoked and running, so stoked. Don't worry about that tractory sound. I haven't put anything in that hole yet, so. Okay, so all in all, I'm stoked that it's running. Definitely has some bits and pieces that I need to work out here. Like obviously the main one being, I still haven't fixed turn the key off, it doesn't turn off. So if anyone knows what I've done wrong here, let me know. I kind of think it's going to be something easy that I've just overlooked. Maybe an earth somewhere, or... So these are the main drawings that I've used to hook up all of the wiring in this basically. So anything that's highlighted here is for this ECCS relay. So they're all connected. So pin 35, pin 6, yeah, and then basically there are two constants on it, which is that one there. So I presume that one would be, I'm guessing that relay is perhaps on the body loom or something, although, so you can see this one here. This is the one I'm talking about. Yeah, so these, like I said, these are the drawings that I've used. This is probably one of the things that I'm going to look into, this power supply relay. I maybe have hooked something up wrong on that. So don't use my wiring as an example. There is, this loom that I used was actually pretty bad, so there's lots of splice joints in it and stuff. Wires change color and stuff, and as they go through the loom, and it's a bit of a pain to trace. So, but yeah, and then trying to work out what is factory, what is standard, and what isn't. These were the other ones that I used. So this was one that Blake sent me. Sorry, Blake, if this is a secret. But yeah, basically this is the 3 plugs on this ECU sort of thing. So that, yeah, and then I just worked through them one at a time, labeled them all up, and then yeah, worked out from there what I need and what I don't need. I'm not using any of the auto TPS stuff, so these ones aren't used. These colors are just because that's the cables that I've used as that extra little loom that I put in between that side and this side, because these plugs are under the dash on the VL, which connect the engine ECU harness to the body, and on the VN they're over here sort of thing. So that's a little bit of a pain, but it's not too bad to get by otherwise. Yeah, I had a couple other handy drawings. That's one of them. That's very easy to get, this one, online, anywhere pretty much. Like just Google VN V6 engine harness pin out or something like that to get that one. The only thing that I had on mine that was different was this pin here actually had a wire coming out of it. I wasn't sure if, because it was a BT1, whether it was something to do with yeah, the cop wiring that was in here before. So yeah, like I said, all this other stuff is just connecting. Like, you could get away with a lot of this by not connecting it, sort of thing. So I've connected, so that's the like main plug on the VN, and I've just gone a battery, constant power, and then one ignition switched power. So that one there goes on and off ignition. So the problem that I have here, right, is when the ECU runs, so when the car starts and the engine runs, this pink wire that I'm led to believe is supposed to be like key switched to like the ignition on position. So when the ignition's on, that has power. So you start the car, it runs, you turn it off, it turns off. But it doesn't. So that's the one thing, yeah, that I'm just not sure about, whether that has, yeah, perhaps it needs another earth, or perhaps that one I have picking up something from the wrong place. But that's something I'll work out by next week. I will post when I work it out, I'll post a like comment on this video, just updating everyone how I got on with it. If you know what I've done wrong, let me know. Did you like me dribbling crap for 50 minutes? I don't know how long this video is going to be. Probably an hour at this rate. Did you enjoy it? I don't know. Let me know. Drop a comment. Thanks heaps for tuning in. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. I don't know whether this stuff is interesting to everybody. So like I said, let us know what you think. Next week's video, this thing is going to be driving. Mark my word. Unless it's like this week's video where everything goes wrong, but I think we'll be all right. So, but yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next week.